Greetings, Gary here. Today I'm going to talk about upgrading your 3D printer to use automatic bed leveling. This involves being able to customize the firmware, so if your printer is not already upgraded to Marley or something where you can change the settings in your firmware, this probably isn't going to work for you. But if you do have access to your Marley firmware and can make changes, then with a few electrical and mechanical changes to the printer, you can enable auto bed leveling. This means never having to mess with bed leveling the actual printing bed, adjusting Z-stops. Very little of that is required anymore once you calibrate the sensor appropriately. There are a couple of different types of sensors you can use. In my case, I'm using an inductive sensor, which senses metal. There's also BL Touch. You'll find that BL Touch is probably one of the easiest ones to configure. The inductive sensor is a little more touchy, but I like it.
Okay, we're going to be working with my Hictop 3DP08, which is a Prusa i3 clone. First thing you want to do is print a new part using your working printer. And that if you have to design it, or you can find one on the internet, basically it's going to be a replacement wind guide to hold the sensor. Then we need to remove the current Z-limit configuration, which is a switch. We find the switch, remove it, and then pull the wire all the way back to the logic board and pull the actual connector. Don't discard it, we need it. So we're going to basically modify that connector to use the white wire only. Then we pull off the old wind guide, put on our new wind guide, install the sensor, and then run the wire back up through the harness to the logic board. Then at the logic board, we're going to attach the wires. 12 volt and ground will connect to the main board power. The signal wire will connect to that white wire on the Z-limit switch wire. I just cut it, soldered it, and used shrink tubing. Last, we need to update Marley. So we're going to open our Marley configuration, go to configuration.h, and scroll down about halfway, 2/3 of the file, until you find the section on auto bed leveling. The first thing we need to do is uncomment the section that says auto bed leveling feature. That turns it on. By default, it's going to use mesh bed leveling. If you don't want to use mesh bed leveling and just want to use simple 3-point bed leveling, there are instructions in this section that show you how to do that and what to make your settings for. You also need to make changes to the positions and to the Z probe offset. All this is well documented in the configuration file. Read it. Measure your sensor distance from the probe to the hot end and put the appropriate settings in millimeters in the configuration file. Save it, flash your board. If you don't know how to do that, I've got a guide, but if you already have Marley running, chances are you know how. Now we want to adjust the probe itself. It's basically a switch. You're moving it up and down. You adjust the nut on the bottom and on the top to move the sensor up and down until the light comes on. So if you position your nozzle where it should be on the bed, then adjust the sensor until the light comes on. Practice homing it until the light comes on at the perfect position, making half and quarter turns to the nuts, and they only need to be finger tight. Thanks for watching.